Hello, hello. Everything's gotta load. Make sure my both those are. Alright. How's it going this evening? Let me get everything loaded up here. Hello, hello, hello. I don't have anything planned to talk about before, aside from the tarot reading that I prepared, which I think is a really good one. Just gonna wait a few minutes and do a couple of quick shares just to say that I'm live, and then maybe we can get a few more people in here before I start going into this reading. How's everyone? I hope you're well out there, doing your things. I hope you're doing your things. So the cards are pretty interesting this evening. We're going to talk a little bit about surrender and the big mystery of things, and like what manifesting gets wrong a lot. I did bring this up in a few other streams before, just like briefly, but this tarot reading, as I was reading it, I was just like, that's what this is talking about. This is talking about manifesting too hard, trying too hard to manifest, which can be really distracting from what you're trying to accomplish. It works against you. And of course, it called me out because all readings call me out. So I really enjoy reading them because then I'm just like, I know. And I knew this was going to call me out too. Hi, Benna. Good evening. This reading's calling me out. Pretty bad. Because I barely accomplished what I needed to accomplish today because I was doing the thing that the fucking tarot cards said I'm doing. And I'm like, no. So I like go to read again because I'm like, this is a general reading. It's not just about Nikki tonight. So it got worse. It called me out even more. So I was like, all right, I surrender. I will read this one. Yes, this is the one I will read. It just gets more and more like, if I try to get sassy with these cards, it just keeps reiterating the same message, but meaner and meaner, like more and more direct, until I finally like, fine, I'll read it, but I don't want to. But anyway, so yeah, I do have a good reading here that I hope y'all's ready for. If you get really hung up on stuff, like if you think about something that you want and you get really hung up on it, and you're almost like, it's too much to where you're almost not doing what you need to be doing. You're just like, too much working on that one thing. Oh yeah, they've been mean to me. They've been really mean to me. I got called out in this reading for being distracted all day. And it wasn't in a bad way where I was like obsessing over anything bad. I was just thinking about good stuff. But I spent too much time thinking about the good stuff and not doing shit. I wasn't doing the thing. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about future things. Um, yeah. That's funny though. So yeah, we're gonna read this reading. Mm-mm-mm. Some people got me working overtime with my healing work. They got, like, no, seriously, could you not challenge me so much all the time? They are, but you know what? Daydreams are days, but also if you're spending the whole frickin' day daydreaming, you're not doing what you need to do to have the dream. It can be, and if it would be fine if it was just one, uh, but I've actually had like the last couple days like that. I need to behave myself because um because I'm projecting and I can't help it. I'm projecting. But yeah. Uh Hello, Lou. I think I turned the thing off, Lou. I'm going to be doing a full reading. If you're looking to get a live reading done, I can do that afterwards. It'll take just a little bit of time. And we'll be good to go. Of course, I start getting a bunch of messages. I go live and everybody's like, hey, let me message Nikki right now. That's a good time. Oh my goodness. They want to wait till the last minute on freaking everything. Okay, you know what? Yep. So yeah, Lou, I actually have a general reading prepared. I always start off with a general reading, and then after the general reading is through, if there's anything that you're still looking for specifically. But a lot of times the general readings are pretty specific. Yeah, no, it's really because I'm trying to prepare for this festival, and people are telling me they're not going to have their sets until the day before. The day before. And I have 21 sets that I'm trying to piece together, and I have to render them into a video. So otherwise, I'm going to have to change 21 sets plus intermissions. So I'm trying to shorten my workload a little bit by rendering them together, and they want to wait till the day before the festival. So I get to stay up all night. I'm going to just vent for just a minute. They want me to stay up all night to prepare for this fest, apparently, and not get any sleep. Frustrating. Because I specifically said the 1st of April. Specifically said the 1st of April. Anyways, it's my little vent. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm so frustrated with that. I'm gonna make it work either way. I have to deal with it, but hopefully they will be a little bit more courteous. So, anyway, let's get into this reading because there's a lot of good stuff here that people should be hearing anyway. And perhaps some of the people that are trying to make me stay up all night Saturday to frickin' render video because they want to wait until the day before the festival. I just need a moment. Get that out of my head. I shouldn't have even answered that. I should not have answered that message. Yeah, no, they do. Yeah, they're notorious for it. Sometimes I feel like like herding wild squirrels. They're all over the place. You never know what one of them's going to be doing next. Sometimes they disappear. No. And you got to track them down, and they're a lot of work. It's a lot of work to wrangle squirrels. Usually I do pretty good, but some of them are a little frustrating. But yeah, it'll be fine. I'm gonna make it work one way or another, despite the fact that they apparently think I'm some kind of miracle worker. I guess this reading is really gonna be helpful for me tonight then, huh? Anyway, okay, so let's get into this. Four of Wands. This is standing at a point where this is our foundation position. We are looking to enroll others in our personal vision, and surrounding us need to be people that uphold these same virtues and morals that we uphold and have the same kind of goals and ambitions that we uphold. We're only as strong as our weakest pillar, right? We have to engage all four of the pillars in order to really, really embrace all that is life. We have to build our relationships with people that help us evolve, not that allow us to be stagnant and not get farther. We have to work on our physical health and treat it as a sacred vessel. We have to work in a purposeful way and on purposeful things, on things that matter to us and provide passion. And we have to work on our spiritual endeavors and knowledge, and the discipline and commitment that we put into all these four pillars helps us understand and see the interconnectedness of life from a different perspective. There's a need here in this card to do a better job and do some deep communicating and work on togetherness with purposeful individuals, finding people that are aligned with you, that you are established with. Beyond that, beyond just like, you're not just looking for like brand new people, you're looking to like bring in and connect with and be a part of a structure as a whole with these individuals. And the more that you work at this, the more structured and backed up that you end up being in life. So with let's knock it over. So with the Four of Wands, we have an oracle card that comes up. So we're working with other people, right? And we need this in order to advance to the next level of whatever we're working towards. But that doesn't mean that we can give everything up for these other people, because that's going to throw us out of balance. We need to set healthy boundaries. So that's what the armadillo spirit is for. The armadillo spirit is telling us that we are entering this phase of alignment that we've not quite reached before. It feels a little different. And at this phase, we have to be even more discerning. And sometimes we need to say more no's. This is not for me. We need to be able to accept where we end and the next person begins, and vice versa. What is actually yours to own versus what is not yours to own, versus what is yours to share versus what is yours to be privileged and grateful for the experience of, as opposed to own. Boundaries go in both directions. So it's time to really be honest about what it is that you're wanting, and each of these people and each of these pillars of life are a part of this. So you have to be clear. You have to be clear with your own personal needs. You have to be clear with your desires, and you have to actually communicate. You can't guess You can't expect the other person to read your mind. While they might be psychic, it's not fair. You have to communicate so that they feel also confident enough to communicate. But also, when you say no, there doesn't need to be an explanation for it. That's a complete sentence. That is a boundary. And when you have reached a boundary and you've gotten to the point where you cannot progress and you don't want to think about it anymore, it's not something that feels good, because you have to respect what you feel inside your body, and trust your body and the signals that it's giving you. It makes you, if it's nervousness, that's different. But if it's genuine, like, no, you know what that feels like. And you just have to learn to honor that and respect that. So this, your personal email, this card is telling you that you are in a position to make good decisions when you are paying attention to this intuition of yours, but not if you're getting too absorbed. And I'm going to get more into this whole absorption thing, because this this is just going to get into where we're at. See, I'm getting distracted here because I gotta turn off messages. Anyway, when we're involving other people in our lives and in our endeavors, and we're bringing new people in, and especially when they're important people to us, or we're incorporating them in new ways, it's easy to really become like oversaturated with it and over obsessed with the idea of it and the potential of it, almost becoming like drunk with the potential of it. And you lose the actual momentum of doing what you need to be doing that got you to that point where it was all falling into place. So you can't fall too off of the train tracks there. You need to stay. The Nine of Pentacles, this is in our fire position. So this is talking about what it is that we are personally trying to accomplish here, and what our desires are ultimately, and how we achieve them. The Nine of Pentacles is about being in charge of your own destiny. We have choices. There's some things we don't have choices in, but there's a lot of choices we still have. And when you take the time to imagine and dream and coagulate all these things that are good into your day-to-day life, into your thoughts, you're preparing yourself and allowing yourself to receive the gifts and the acknowledgement, and you're in a position where you have the opportunity to inspire others. And in order to really push your own boundaries, personal, not what other people are setting for you, you want to think beyond your limitations. Think beyond what you can't do and think about instead what potentially could be done. What is it that would be really truly amazing right now for you? Like, what is it that you're really truly looking to change in your life? Like, ask yourself this question: what am I missing? What is not there? And be honest about it, because you have to be honest to show that you're receptive for this. You have to admit what it is that you need, what you want. For some, that's difficult because you have to admit that there's some kind of a vulnerability. We're going to talk more about that too. And what we do about these vulnerabilities and these holes that we're trying to cover all the time. So thinking about what it is that you're missing, honestly, and really seeing that picture and living in that truth is that picture. That's what we're looking for. This is the time to know and accept that we're here to manifest your dreams. And so there's a certain level of confidence that should be instilled in you with this card, that you are in the process of making this happen. So, next card in the wheel, the oracle card here. This one hit me so hard. I was so upset because I know what happens to me when I get excited. When I get excited about something I'm manifesting, I start to obsess over it. And I say that in a good way. It's not a bad thing. It's a good obsession, but it's really like I just get very, very intoxicated with the potential of what could be, rather than just allowing it all to flow in. So this card is called Loosen Your Grip. I was like, I don't want to. But that's exactly what it's asking you to do. It's the part where you want to hold on to the control of what's happening because you've put your intention out there, right? And it's moving towards it. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily look like exactly what you thought it was going to look like. And so you're trying to steer it in a certain direction. You're trying to have a certain idea or mentality about what could happen in this time frame, or in this event, or this and these series of events that it could occur. And it could be, it doesn't matter if it's good or it's bad. If it's bad, we call it anxiety. If it's good, we call it daydreaming. But the daydreaming can go too much. It can go in the other direction as well, right? Anxiety can become a problem if you're constantly thinking about the things that could go wrong. Well, sitting there thinking about all the things that are going right becomes a little bit time wasting. You're not doing anything when you're doing that. And as much as we love to be in that moment, especially when you feel really good and you're just like, I feel really good. Like, you just, yes. So keep that going by doing what you were doing. What were you doing to get to the point where you felt good? You were staying consistent. You were working a little bit every day on yourself. You were putting some time every day into your personal health. Were you cleaning out sections of your house every day? Were you working a little bit harder each day at meditating? What were you doing before you got to the super happy? And I'm just going to sit here and think about the happy now. Because you got like one stage in the manifesting and you were like, I'm so happy. It's so good. Okay, that's me. I do that all the time. And then I forget to let it keep going. And that's what this card is about. When we are clinging to something, the idea of something good or bad, we are resisting natural flow of energy. And we need the flow of energy in order for the rest of it to come. When we're holding on and we're gripping like this, all we're doing is covering up our vulnerable spaces. This is the stuff that we're afraid to leave empty. This is the stuff that we're willing to put anything there, especially who or something, somebody or someone or something that does not serve us. We will put that there rather than allow that to be empty, because we just don't like the way that feels when that's empty. A lot of people will hold on to a relationship way longer than needed because being alone is terrifying. But as long as we're pretending that that's working and we're using that to cover our fear of being vulnerable or our fear of that little bit of emptiness that we feel, as long as we continue to do that, we are literally stopping ourselves from receiving what is ours. So the Buddha says you can only lose what you cling to. That's an attachment, non-attachment principle. By holding on to something so tightly, you have not allowed yourself any space. And without that space, there's no room for what's actually for you and what does fit in that space perfectly. Um, there is, it requires more strength to surrender to the idea that you have to let go of something that's not yours and wait until it happens or doesn't happen. We don't even know. That's the thing, is that's why it's hard, is because when we surrender and when we let go of control, we're letting go of the idea that we know what happens next. You've got a picture in your head of how pretty that looks and you're holding on to it. And because you're holding on to it, you're not allowing it to flow into what happens next. Maybe what happens next doesn't quite look like that, but maybe it's much better. And you're not even giving it a chance. You're already blocking it off because you're stuck in here and these beautiful images that you've got that aren't necessarily for you. Maybe you're not quite getting it right. You don't know. And if you continue to try to control it, you very often will steer yourself in the wrong direction. You're not supposed to be steering this raft. We're supposed to be just going with the flow. We're supposed to just kind of letting it happen. Hi, Suburban Slay. So, that's a fun one. Good freaking obsessing. Thanks, cards. In the third position, one of the things that we get to experience that's actually really good coming forward, there's been a few indications that a lot of people are going to be feeling a lot better in the coming months, with a lot of celebrations and things turning out better for them. And the Six of Wands talks about leading through example and how leadership can be a very gratifying, mutually beneficial thing, especially if you're surrounded in the people in the type of partnership that we talked about in the Four of Wands, where these people align with your values. They're in touch with they're part of your core pillars. They're the kind of people that you want to trust with your vision and that you want to bring in, and then they honor your boundaries, and it feels right and you're just going with it. So now there's an opportunity to celebrate all the good stuff that occurs coming forward. And when this occurs, like, it's really easy for someone to instantly, go, yes, like, I'm the hero, look at what I've done. This is not a time for heroing. Instead, this card calls upon you to acknowledge honestly the difficulties along the way and being really open about it. And that itself is what draws a better, more of those pillars of your life to you. You're getting more of these people who naturally see your vision and then align with your values, and they get on board with your strategy. There might not be a lot of them. You might only be talking about one person, adding one person to your team that matters to you. And it doesn't matter if we're talking, personal, family, or otherwise, job related, or with a hobby even, or a side gig. It might only be one or two people that are in alignment in that way, but it's asking you to incorporate these people when that opportunity comes, because it's very win-win. You're going to kind of have to be moving in as like a teacher leader position. You're exciting, you're inspiring, which is inspiring to you. And it's all to reaffirm for you all of the passion and all of the drive that got you started in the first place on this. The real purposes of what you're doing. So it's asking you to, in this, and you're leading through example, you're not only able to take criticisms, but you're giving feedback as well, and you're fine-tuning what success looks like in a way that demonstrates for others. This one again called me out again. This whole reading was just mean to me. Oh no, yeah. That's terrifying, Benna. Hopefully you'll I think you'll see that, you know, the solutions will arise for you, perhaps by with some of these suggestions of just that kind of surrender and yeah, you need to be out there anyway. You do. So this moss spirit, I hate this card because I don't like to do it. It's scary. It's surrendering. It's asking you what is actually guiding your momentum right now and your movements right now. The things that you're deciding to do every day. What is the purpose in your decision in doing them? Are you doing them because you're obsessed with the outcome? Has it become an addiction? That you're doing it so much it's an addiction? That intoxicated with potential thing. You know, hard work and dedication are virtues. And love is a beautiful thing. But this card comes up when you're going over the edge in pursuit of getting exactly what you want the way you want it. You're putting too much into it and you can possibly throw yourself off course as a result. I want you to be persistently moderating yourself. Persistently moderating yourself, your energy, your decisions. How much are you putting into your work? How much are you putting into yourself? How much are you putting into your relationships? You know, all of these things need to be in balance in order for you not to throw yourself off. And the moss spirit comes up when you're obsessing a little. Called out. So yeah, moderation is needed. I want you to channel the energy into the other things that are important, like the other things, the 10 to the small things card that was talking about. Instead of channeling your energy all into thinking about the thing that you're obsessing over, that you really badly want to occur, that you're, or that you don't want to occur, depending on how you're thinking about the thing, put that energy into the stuff that's actually going to help you get there, or at least allow you to be prepared when you get there. If you don't surrender to the flow of things, if you don't allow yourself to have this release, if you continue with the should and the must of how things need to work out, you end up pushing yourself so far that when you're presented with it, with what it is that it's truly yours, you'll either fight it or you'll run from it, because you'll be so obsessed with your version of what it was that it's going to scare you. So it becomes problematic because it becomes so much fantasy and so much where it's not allowing it to unfold the way that it was going to unfold naturally. You're putting so much into it, you're trying to steer it in a different direction, and that's really going to mess up your head when what's really yours, what you're supposed to have, not the stuff that you're fighting to keep, not the stuff that you're fighting to get, but when you what is really yours finally shows up, you're going to run from it or you're going to fight it off. You're because you're so not paying attention to the day-to-day stuff that you need to be doing. You're not even going to be ready for it. You're going to be a mess. This one, we can get a little bit we can feel a little bit like life is being cruel at times when we're faced with changes that need to be made, or decisions that need to be made, or we're being called out by the tarot cards for daydreaming too much and obsessing instead of doing what we need to do. Um, but the quality of life overwhelmingly is going to be proportionate to the kinds of questions that you're asking yourself on a daily basis, and whether or not you're doing that shadow work and actually trying to push yourself to do a little bit better in a healthier way. The more we layer ourselves back, the more that we're digging into who we really are, the more that we come back to this idea that we're like, there's really nothing. We're just nothing but a set of beliefs. And when we get rid of all these beliefs, there's nothing. But then from that nothing, we can create anything, including an entire set of beliefs. And then we can destroy those and start over and do it again. That's a lot of power of creation there. Sometimes we have to just acknowledge when we feel bad, when we have suffered from grief, when we have suffered from loss, and we acknowledge them and we surrender to that feeling and we allow it to flow through us. Because by feeling it and not running from it and allowing it to just flow through us, we're actually going to free ourselves from that. It'll no longer be intoxicating or paralyzing in either way. So a lot of questions. But to go with this card, I think even more importantly here, because this is what we're dealing with, this is our choice that we have to make on how we deal with things. The squirrel spirit is about believing in yourself. Because if we're seeking constantly for, if we're looking at that story of, what's not working out, or what doesn't look the way we thought it was going to look, or why isn't it happening to me yet, we're filling that space again rather than leaving the space open. So believing in yourself. You have all the wisdom that you need. You have all the experience that you need. You have everything. There is abundance available to you. The resources are there. And most of the time you're aware of them. But all of this is there for you to grow without having to build it up in any other way. It doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't have to be built up with things that aren't yours. It can literally just happen naturally, because you've been preparing this whole time. You've been learning this whole time. You've been understanding that you are enough, that you deserve what you desire, that you have enough, and that you have enough now, and you can continue to have enough. It's not something that is a finite thing. Enough is ever expanding and adjusting. So you just have to relax a little bit. It's the having a little bit more trust and faith in yourself that things are working out, because if we're trying to force it too much, if we're trying to stop the feelings, and that's when we start feeling that everything's cruel, everything's working against us. You're going to have the ups and downs. You're going to have the ebbs and flows of the energy. It's not always beautiful. But it is a beautiful process. And after you've come through the one cycle to the next, we always look back and we go, look at how far I've come. I'm so glad that I got out of that. I'm so glad that this happened. Now every once in a while people go, I screwed up and I really wish I could go back to that. At that point, they're looking backwards, and they should be looking at where they are now and where they could be going with it. But most of the time, people are heading in the right direction by improving and gaining from their experiences. And hopefully we're doing that. We're not repeating cycles and wondering why. Oh, yeah. The cards called me out so bad. I'm so upset. I was so upset. I was really like, because I knew I was doing it too. That was the thing. I was like, the cards are gonna call me out. They're gonna like, it's gonna be like the moth spirit or something. Sure enough, like, surrender now. It's so sick of it. I'm so bad at it. Like, stop calling me out. The cool things about, and I don't know how many people in here are really well versed with cards, so not trying to preach to the choir, but the cards are very much based in a lot of the similar ideas of like the archetypes of like Carl Jung and etc. So these are things that everybody goes through at some point in your life. You embody all of these things, all of them. You go through all of these experiences, and you have all of these challenges and all of these tests over and over and over. And that's why the cards are always so valuable, because they call you out on the stuff that you're just doing normally. And the cards will be like, you know, the thing that you normally do, you want to do it better. And sometimes you're just like, no, and then it goes, fine, this is what's gonna happen then. So the next time you're like, all right, fine, what do I need to do? And it tells you what to do, and you do a little better. The Six of Swords is a good one. So this is the advice. This is the spirit card, the advice card. Um, Adventure into the great unknown. This one came up recently before. Somebody still hasn't read Ventured into the Great Unknown. Actually, I think it's calling me out again. It wants me to consider doing something that I've not considered before. You have to let go of the life that you planned in order to accept the life that's waiting for you. There was like some simple lesson in miracles or something. I don't remember the book, but anyway, it was some book. But I really like that quote because it really embodies the entire idea of what this tarot reading is about. It's like you're still clinging to these specific ideals instead of just focusing on whatever makes you happy in the very moment, which is not going to be obsessing over something you don't have. You're not happy in that moment when you're thinking that. So you can't go, well, no, I'm happy. No, you're not. You're thinking about something you don't have. The universe is comprised of part of you. It already knows what you want, so you don't need to keep telling it. What you should be doing, though, is telling the universe that you're happy and you're ready. And that doesn't mean that you're happy all the time. And that doesn't mean that you even have to be happy to deserve what's coming. You can still be, I'm sad, but I'm ready. You know, you can be like, I'm okay and I'm ready. But if you're holding on to what's there with this constant, direct obsession and focus on this thing, whether it be a good thing, I want this person, I want this relationship, I want this job, I want this car, I want this house, or it's the opposite. I am obsessing over this thing that went wrong, this thing that I said, this opportunity that I missed. It doesn't matter what it is. You're holding on to it. And it's literally blocking everything. So this is what the cards are talking about. We don't staying still is just as risky as like moving forward. We're like, oh, there's risks. Doing something outside of your comfort realm is risky, but staying still can be risky also, because if we're staying still, we're risking that everything's going to change around us and we're not going to be happy anymore. And we didn't spend any time thinking about what it is that was going to make us happy next. So now we're just sitting there starting over. You have to constantly be ready to continually move into the next thing. And we have this impression that we need to feel good in order to keep moving. Like, well, I don't feel good, so I'm just going to stay here. That's the opposite of the mindset that will be beneficial. Instead, we really need to have this, I don't feel good, therefore I need to find a way to push forward in some way. That doesn't mean you have to fake being happy either. What that means is that you give yourself those goals without the crazy expectations. You don't need the expectations to make yourself feel like a failure. But give yourself some goals, and then when you accomplish them, you celebrate them. If you don't, that's okay. You try again tomorrow. But especially when you feel bad, it's really important to keep I know, right? No, it really called me out. I almost cried before I started this goddamn stream. It's like, why is that so much? But I just wanted to daydream today. And, and I did. And I daydreamed all day, and it was nice. And I did not do the things that I needed to do. So, either way, it's going to feel better to keep moving. It really is. It's going to feel better to keep pushing, especially when you feel like and you don't want to do any of it. I'm going to start doing more sound effects. That's a new thing I'm going to add. It's always do the thing. But this is not do the same thing, remember. This is do the thing you're afraid to do. Sometimes we're pushed by the force of circumstance. So, like, when we take an act and we, like, say, okay, today I am going to finally get around to getting to the laundromat. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do today. That's my goal. You go into the laundromat, and a chain of events has now been stimulated across the entire universe. It's a catalyst for something. There's all kinds of things that are occurring, and you don't know what those are. Those are way beyond you, so they're way bigger than you. But eventually, there's another thing that occurs, and you have to take action, and then that action starts a domino effect of things that occur. So every time you take one little tiny step, you can celebrate that because you've done something instead of just thinking about it or talking about it like most people do. Honestly, people, and I won't say who quoted, I'm going to quote somebody, they martyr people that just for doing stuff because you took some steps and they're like, oh my God, you're amazing. You're like, I only did like a few things. They're like, you are amazing. And it's almost like you feel like you're cheating the system or something because you're like, I literally just did a thing. And like, I can't even do a thing. And then you're like, oh, okay. These cards are talking about how to unstick yourself from being paralyzed and not doing things. It's talking about the little teeny weeny increments. I'm going to do more. So maybe the cat will come back. You never know. Sometimes earlier the dogs were chewing on these bones and they were both like the most disgusting sounds ever. And I was like, should I stream this as ASMR? They were just like, it was so gross. And then Mooey snorts when he gets excited and he's eating a tree. It's just it's so funny. Anyway. It's more fun when I don't plan anything to talk about. So anyway, this card talks about the energy of transition. This is actually doing the things. Yeah, no, he sounds. That's why we call him Mooey, Moocow. That's his name is Moocow. His name is Marley. That's his actual name. But because of the way he eats and he's always very like pushy about food and stuff, I call him Mooey Moocow. It's a moo moo. So yeah. Transition and the doing the things. Even if the doing the things come forward as like a simple like I should probably pick this dirty sock up off the floor that I've been walking past for 3 days. You know, one of my things today that I did, I finally threw away 3 pair of yoga pants that have gone from black to gray and have holes worn in them. Like, not like a hole that from snagging something, but just a hole like that's worn in the fabric. And I was still putting them on and wearing them. And I kept telling myself I was going to do this. I was going to get rid of these goddamn pants that are so hideous. I need to like replace my pants. And I felt good about that. I pulled them out of the closet. Threw them away. So, anyway. I'm leaving what's familiar. Getting rid of the things that don't serve me anymore. there's just this process of unending, natural, magical, completely ordinary things that is what life is comprised of. That's it. Like, it's this series of events, one thing after another. Most of them are pretty boring. Some of them are really terrible. A lot of not great ones. But if you don't try to compare their importance or their size, what you'll notice is that the moments of clarity and the moments of joy where you're really enjoying the flow, where you feel blissful, where you feel like you're just in the moment, where you're doing your thing, you find those tiny things that really make you feel good when you're creating, when you're sharing your creations. That's the extraordinary. That's the stuff that you're supposed to be doing. And when you're focused on that energy flow, that's the flow. That's the vibe. Maintain that, and everything else that's in your vision just kind of falls into place. This card says that we are being tested in our ability to gain knowledge of ourselves and our personal needs and our boundaries and our desires and our passions, to get control of our emotions so that we're able to ride the waves and not let it throw us off course. And the less that we ride, the more that we flow, the more the stuff comes and the faster it comes. So I implore you that when you start your day tomorrow, solely focus on doing all of the things that make you personally feel good. Wake up and complete a routine that allows you to start your day feeling fresh and your best self, and give yourself some hydration and some nutrition, and dress in the clothing that makes you feel the best about yourself, and do your hair the way you think it looks the best, and take that selfie too. Go ahead and do that, and then dive into whatever makes you feel good. If you have to go to work, dive into your work day and do the best thing that you can do all day. Be the example in that case. Be the leader in that case. That's an everyday, all day thing in all aspects of life. So yes, that means go to work and feel that way. If you're diving into your projects, dive into your projects and make that focus about what feels good about that, working on your projects. Not the thing you want and desire, not the thing that you don't want and have been obsessing over. We're in the middle. We're in the balance. We're in the zone. We're in the vibe. We're flowing. That's where we want to be. It can see where you want to go. It already knows where you've been. You just need to be right here, focusing on the stuff that is steps forward. So whether it's for you, whether it's at work, whether you're working on your projects, whether you send that text or that you write that love letter, write the love letter. Please write the love letter. Or whether write it to yourself. Write yourself a love letter. I'm going to write myself a love letter. Nobody's going to write one for me. God damn it, I'll write one for me. I'm going to talk about all the things that I love about myself and all the things that I've overcome and how strong and wonderful I am, and even how screwed up and completely normal I am. So the last advice card in this one is the Cosmic Heart. I feel like a broken record tonight. All these cards are like the same thing. Surrender, flow, surrender, flow, surrender, flow. Quit obsessing. Quit obsessing. This one about flowing with spirit as well. And reconnecting with why you're doing the things that you do every day. What are your original goals when you got into this? Like, what were your visions? And if they've changed, that's okay. When you started this dream, did you see yourself with a certain kind of loving relationship that was mutually supportive? Did you see yourself with a secure household, or in a certain type of career that was fulfilling, or all the things in the picture, all of them at once? That was your whole picture. whatever that is, that's what you really do this for. And so if you put that energy into the day to day, that's where you get that momentum pushing forward. So this card talks about how there is a season, right? There's a season for harvesting, there's a season for sowing your seeds. Right now, what you're doing, you've already sown your seeds. You already picked your goals. You know what you're looking at. You know what you're headed towards. You know what you want. Now you're caring for them. You're going to sing to them. You're going to tend to them. You're going to water them. And that's you. You're the soil. You're the foundation of where this seed comes from, right? So you have to nurture you. It's you that you're nurturing in order for your manifestations to grow outside of you. You're where that comes from. So you have to water yourself. You have to quench your own thirst in your day-to-day life. The things that nurturing and feed your soul. Actually losing yourself, right? Just every day, try to lose yourself every day into something that you enjoy. Even if it's only for a few minutes, just try to lose yourself. If you like being outside in nature, go find some plants to take a close look at and take some pictures of and feel them and smell them and just absorb their energy. If you enjoy cooking, go and give yourself that joy of making yourself a meal. If you whatever it is that makes your heart feel full and satisfied when you do it, and you do it out of love because you enjoy it. And it doesn't matter if it's video games. It doesn't matter. Whatever that is, if it's creating art, if it's writing, if it's singing, if it's playing an instrument, if it's, reading something, or caring for animals, whatever it is that makes you feel good, focus on those things. And especially if it makes you care a little bit more about being here, about sticking around, that's what you should be focused on. And when you focus on that stuff, everything else falls into place, because that's where you're tending to your own garden, and everything sprouts from that. So regardless of what anybody thinks that you should be doing, you have to go with what you're feeling. So the card that I posted earlier came up in a reading that I was doing for another person. It was Life is a Mystery. And it was really like, that one always gets to me because it's it kind of makes fun at us about our desire to know what the path looks like the whole way. Like, we want it laid out like a game where there's colored squares and we go, okay, but I rolled the dice and now I go 5 spaces and this is where I'll be, right? And it's purple. Like, but that's not what life's like. Sometimes we do roll the dice, and sometimes we do not even end up on the path. Sometimes those aren't even dice for this game. It doesn't look like it makes sense though, until one day it just does. And there's a lot of times that this has occurred where I've been in this, mystery hair. I've been in this a lot of times where something didn't work out the way that I thought it should or wanted it to or whatever, and I said, okay, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm a hyper-focused person. So if something isn't going my way, I have to direct my attention to something else. Specifically, it has to be something else directly. So a lot of times this is how I end up diving into my work, especially after like a breakup or something that was difficult. I would just like go full on into the work, and the next thing you know, like, I'm full on into the work. And this actually happened. I was struggling for a long time to finally get in my groove. I start working, I'm in my zone, I'm feeling good. I had recently suffered a little bit of a rejection from somebody, And it was kind of a little soul crushing blow there, but I was dealing with it. You know, it wasn't like cruel or brutal. It was just a little ouch. But I was dealing with it. It turned out for the best, by the way. Uh, so I'm not gonna even mention it. But I was definitely feeling it, the blow, the loss. And so I said, okay, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this again. You gotta be kidding me. I've done this before. I have let myself slump down and go, oh no, you didn't get the thing. Why aren't you good enough? You're not good enough. You're not this, you're not that. And in this particular situation, I was just like, oh hell no, I'm not doing this time. That is his fucking loss, okay? And that's so like cliche. We say that all the time. That's their loss or whatever. But in this case, that was kind of how I did feel. I was just like, honestly, like, I don't know why he said what he said, but he said it. So I know that there's something out there for me then. That's, if it's not him, it's something else. And so I proceeded to dive into my work. And I mean, when I say dive into my work, I mean 6 days, baby, 10, 12-hour days. That's all I was doing, working. I'm obsessed with it almost, but not obsessed with it in a way that I was thinking about it. I was just doing it because I was enjoying it and I was loving it, and it was keeping my mind off what was making me upset and what made me feel bad. And I was in my zone. I was doing my thing. And while I was in my zone and doing my thing, the door opens and I hear a bell, and I peek my head up and I see it, and then I looked again, and I ended up dating that guy. Like, seriously, he just walked into my shop one day, and he's happened to be a friend of one of the other people that work there. That's the flow. You put yourself into it sometimes to get your head out of that space, that obsessive space. But that it turns into that energy flow where you're feeling really good. You're just doing your thing. And I was just vibing. I was just enjoying my life. I was doing my thing. And then in walks this person who became a really important part of my life for a significant piece of it. And still is in some ways, just because of the things that I learned from my relationship with him. And so the flow is what I'm talking about here. The flow that is doing the things that you know are good for you, especially if they keep your head out of the funk. That's the stuff that we're talking about. About keeping it going. Keeping it going. So I have an appointment tomorrow for my first vaccine, and I'm very excited. I have several of the risk factors, and so I got smart about it. I realized that there was some delays in my county because of so many people that don't want it, and they're trying to convince the elderly to get it, and they're holding on to these doses for the elderly. A lot of them are right at the poverty line and stuff. So I was like, that makes so much sense, because this county is like that. And they're holding on to these shots for these people that truly are like higher up on the list than I am, which means that they're going out very slowly, because they have like individual people going to these people's houses and like explaining to them about the vaccine so they're not so scared, and trying to convince them to come in and get it done. And I was just like, okay, this is like, I don't feel like I should cut in front of these people. Like, I don't feel like I'm more deserving than them. But I also know that the county that I'm in, this is just how it's going to go. And we're slow, because there's a lot of elderly people and there's a lot of people that live in poverty in this county. So all the time I would watch these articles from the local news, anything about the vaccine, and there'd be like, hundreds of comments from locals that are all anti-vaxxers and whatnot. And I started to just kind of like observe. I was just like, I wonder if them are how from. I wonder how many are like from the neighboring county. Just curious. Sure enough, the neighboring county is where a lot of the anti-vaxxers are. They're more country folk, and they're a lot of Trumper people. So yeah, they don't want the vaccine, and it turns out that pretty much all like their health department wouldn't give me an appointment because I don't live there. But all their private pharmacies have tons of open appointments, tons of them. I was like, are you kidding me? So I went to the one, and they were just like, yeah, you know. I was like, I can't even be mad at that. Like, I actually like told a bunch of people that I know. I just told a bunch of people that I know. Is who is here? Lou. Is Lou still here? I was gonna read for him and I forgot. I got sidetracked talking. And I freaking bring up. It's funny. My ex. He was the one that broke my heart the most because he was the one that I had the best relationship with. Oh, did you? You went to a neighboring county too? Yeah, I didn't. I was like, I felt a little bit bad at first, but then I was just like, okay. I mean, there are a bunch of open appointments sitting there. That's ridiculous. I said I started telling people that I know are eligible, and I'm like, you can go to, Bay County's got like these specific pharmacies that have, and there was like probably like 15 open appointments just this in the 1 week. Hi Colt. I can do a couple of cards for you right now if you would like. I am just clearing out some of the freaking notifications on my phone. So essentially, if you're looking for a reading, I just do cold readings. You can just kind of think about what it is that you would like personally to hear about in the card. You don't have to tell me. You can just keep that right in your own mind. And let me switch my decks here. Switch decks. Apparently I should have moved these. There we go. Should have moved these. So yeah, by you focusing on what you'd like to hear from the cards, it often will direct to that topic. However, I tell everyone, my cards will tell you exactly what the cards think you need to hear, regardless of what you'd like to hear about. Whatever is the most important, but typically speaking, whatever is the most important, whatever is like the most on your mind, whatever is going to be the biggest influence on you getting to where you want to go, to accomplishing what you're trying to accomplish, manifesting what you're trying to manifest, whatever the case may be. So, just so that you're aware of what the cards are going to do. See what comes up. I like this deck for quick reads because it's very concise. What about you? So, I think I should have shuffled those ones. Let's shuffle these ones too. Just gonna shuffle all of them one more time. You reconcentrate. start with these ones. But I'm going to pull... Yeah. Now it feels good. Now it feels good. I'm running out of room on my desk here. Okay. So I'm first pulling up the sun. The sun is definitely... And the first card I pulled up the first time I drew, that was the Three of Cups. So similar vibe there. Your celebratory event or success or achievement or something that you've been hoping for or waiting for is on the horizon here. This is a card of bliss and hope and manifesting and everything falling into the place, the way that you see it, the way that feels good, the way that feels best for you. So it's looking like whatever you've been working towards, whatever you've been wanting to occur, we're literally in a place of being poised to receive it. You're ready to receive it now. And so there's a certain state of joy and bliss that comes with that. So the Ace of Swords, this being in a position of will, this is what you're wanting, what you're looking for, you're desiring. Ace of Swords, an absolute charge of energy, a catalyst, something that you spring into action. Sometimes this has to do with a big, quick, out of nowhere revelation or change that occurs. It's going to be the kind of out of nowhere thing that you kind of hear about happening to people, or maybe it's even happened to you before, where you're just trudging along and you're trying to make something happen and things are going really well, and then out of nowhere, boom, it's like something has occurred. Well, this is occurring in a good way. This is catalyst energy. So your desire, your push, your manifesting energy has honed in and reached a point where there's something that triggers, that turns on at some point here that you get to accept and grab on and embrace and run with. So it's heading in a very good direction for you. The Daughter of Wands, now her energy, and this, I feel like this is actually in reference to a person. It feels very young, like a younger person. I don't know if you would have a daughter, or perhaps you're dating a younger woman or something along those lines. But typically speaking, this feels younger. This feels young. This individual has spent their life, or at least what of it, in this physical realm, honing and charging a particular kind of energy for creation, for spark, for innovation. They might be particularly bright in a specific way. They might be very skilled or gifted in a particular area, but they have a creative spark and an energy. This creative spark and energy is influential to you. It's both reflected in a person and reflected into you. We admire the qualities in other people that we admire in ourselves. So when we talk about reflecting these characteristics from another person, it's reflecting back in you as well. So at some point, this energy becomes influential into this whole situation that's occurring. So we come up next with the Four of Pentacles. So this one is a little bit about honing in on some financial or career goals or something, and becoming a little bit more organized with them, a little bit more attentive to detail. You want to be a little bit aware of the interactions of this ebb and flow and energy, being prepared for, and allowing yourself to foresee what could be next. There's a reason for this, because this is coming forward and it's a choice. It's not something that you necessarily have to do. Some people would choose not to. They're going to do what they're going to do. And they might take some action that would take away a possibility or an opportunity from them, at least for it to occur easily. Whereas you're getting the advice to be a little bit aware of your finances right now, because the Two of Pentacles comes up, and this is a transformation card. So this one is telling you that a opportunity to travel, an opportunity to do something exciting, an opportunity to change something major in your life. It can often be related to something with job or home, or a trip or something along those lines, where it's a tangible thing that occurs. We're not talking about like a spiritual event or falling in love or something like that. We're talking about like a everyday affected tangible thing that is occurring. And if you have kind of minded yourself, minded your finances, and stayed focused on what you're supposed to be doing, when this opportunity comes up, you can jump on it. And then that's going to take you into that next phase that you've been waiting for. That's that sun coming into fullest manifestation. Now the dragonfly spirit came up, which is truth transcends illusion. What this suggests is that there's some area of your life that there may be some mystery surrounding it right now, and that may feel a little cloudy. You might have some things going on really well, and then you've got one area that you're just not sure of. You're maybe not fully understanding of what's occurring, and you just kind of get a weird vibe about it. Well, the dragonfly spirit shows up when we're about to observe the universe unfolding for us. It's going to show you why it was covered, why it was hidden, and then we take the choice and the action from that truth that's uncovered to us. It doesn't always happen really obviously. It's not a big event. It's just all of a sudden stuff starts to make sense. You might get a little piece of information over here, or maybe something just pops into your head and you figure it out, or it clicks. But eventually, the truth always rises to the surface. You're always going to see it eventually. So you can kind of just allow that to just be aware of it. Just be paying attention. Like that Princess of Wands, she's very observant of things. Like that's kind of how she's inspired. So this energy is about keeping an eye on these things, because that knowledge and that truth and what comes through for that is probably a big part of that catalyst as well. And then the star bathing one is activation. It seems as though you're embarking on you're about to embark on a cycle that is a little bit bigger than yourself. It's beyond for a win-win or beneficial for more than just you. So this is calling on you to take some time to focus on your energy, grounding yourself, trying to meditate, making sure you're eating healthy. You're doing the little things to prepare yourself for the big thing. So as I was talking about earlier with the general reading, where you planted the seeds already. Now you have to nurture that soil, and you're the soil. So you don't just go and throw some water on and ignore it, right? It needs sunlight. It needs to be watered in the appropriate amount, and it has to be clean water. It needs fertilizer. And beyond that, and science has shown this, singing to your plants helps them grow. Doing things that are just beautiful and enjoyable help you grow. So all of these things not just work, not just being a good family person, um, not just being a good partner in a relationship, not just being a good friend. All of these things that help you grow, help your soul grow, are a part of and a piece of where you're headed. So keep nurturing your soul and your relationships around you, and keep focused on doing those little progressive steps. It seems like there's a theme tonight. And it's like, it's that whole, if you're not, it doesn't matter if you feel good or not, just keep taking little steps, because like, as long as you're focusing that energy into something productive instead of something that you have no control over, or obsessing over an outcome that you can't control over. So I hope that makes sense for you, gives you some guidance at all. Definitely been a weird night for me. Weird night for me with readings, all in all. I feel like I liked it. Oh, I'm glad. Good. Tarot readers have a little doubt sometimes too. They go, was that good? Was that good? I'm glad. I'm glad it was insightful for you. I'd like to see everybody reaching their goals. I feel like so many people have been struggling for so long, and we've just been held back by so many things, and things have been delayed and dragged out and so on and so forth, and it's just a lot to work through, and you just get very tired, get very frustrated, and then one good thing's happened and you just want to obsess over that one. I just wanted to daydream about the one good thing today. That's all I wanted to do, and the cards called me out and punished me. They didn't punish me, but it made me feel really bad for my daydream day. I liked it. I was having fun in my daydream day. Yeah. But anyway. Well, I'm so glad. Moving forward is definitely the goal here, and staying in that mindset, and staying focused on the step-to-step thing. That's the getting where we need to go. Yeah. I put these stupid things on here, and I still don't know how to, I kind of know how to use them. I don't know. I want to find better ones. I think I'm going to I'm going to, find somebody who's, a questions expert. It seems like it's working, but anyway. I'm so glad, Benna, as well. I had no idea what to talk about tonight. I was really just kind of winging it. I was like, I'm just gonna do a reading. We'll see what happens. See what comes out of my mouth. I guess I just do this so often. I naturally talk and think in this way now. That's just my normal. But when I was a tattoo artist and body piercer, the tattooist in particular, hours and hours and hours and hours of sitting in close physical contact with people. And a lot of times what helped them was conversation, taking their mind off of it. Funny, right? The whole theme of the reading tonight, taking your mind off of what you don't want to be thinking about, and instead we would focus on what they do want to be thinking about. So I would often ask them about their goals, their dreams, their hopes, their aspirations. What are you working on right now? What are you trying to accomplish? And getting them to talk about that stuff would take them to a whole different mental space. And we could talk for hours. And I mean, I would talk for hours and literally watch people go almost into a hypnotic zone. And it was really interesting to see that and get better at it over time, and realize what worked and what didn't, and kind of really fine-tune the technique to really help people while I was tattooing them, and get to do that. And I don't have the intimate skin to skin connection through Twitch exactly, but I do very much enjoy being able to connect with people and help them make sense of things and maybe feel a little bit better about what's next and what's to come and the challenges they might be facing, because it is constant. So yeah, the auto hypnosis, that was definitely what was interesting is the first time I did it, it's so funny because the first time I did it, I have to step back even farther. I used to study auto hypnosis as part of my occult studies when I was much younger. I learned about it when I was like a teenager, and then I kind of like walked away from it. I didn't like take it any further. But in my early days of tattooing, I remember I was tattooing this girl, and her mother was watching me, and she was in a lot of pain. So I was doing what I normally do with the conversation, and I got her to where I was like, I was close to her ear because I was on her shoulder. So I was able to just moderate my voice really, really easily to like a really low tone. And she really just zoned out, just zoned right out. And so we weren't even talking at that point. I was just tattooing and just kind of commenting on what I was doing instead of like elaborating on anything. I would just be like, oh, I'm going to put a little bit of this over here and whatever. And her mother's like, she's hypnotizing you. And like the girl's like, what? And I'm like, oh, are you serious? It ruined it. So mad at her. Like, so then I was like, after that, I'm like, okay, now I gotta get better at it. Yeah, I actually, I did dig into it after that. I got really interested in hypnosis in general and auto hypnosis, which is basically what manifestation or what meditation is. Um, and started developing and honing in on that. I did a lot of self-study in psychology to understand the process of hypnosis, and then I have a library of different hypnotists and their books and study of it, and I've practiced a tremendous amount of self hypnosis, but I've also worked with various psychologists or psychiatrists that do hypnosis as well. And so I've worked with them and allowed them to put me under and work with me in some capacity. It's been mostly good experiences. There's a few times that where I first learned how much control I have under hypnosis was to get myself out of a situation that was probably going to go badly. But a lot of interesting things I learned. Oh, yeah. See, now hypnosis from another person, that requires a tremendous amount of trust, and there's a certain kind of concentration. And so if you're not able to let go of that and to hone in on that, nobody's going to hypnotize you, period. It's just not going to happen. But if you can hypnotize yourself, then you can reap the benefits of it in that way. You could even do your own recordings and listen to your own recordings, and you know what you're listening to. Oh yeah, see the lack of consent is where that was my bad experience as well. I was not consensual in what he was. I consented to being hypnotized. I did not consent to what he was talking about, but hypnotizing anybody to trying to hypnotize anybody who has not consented to it is morally wrong anyway. So yeah, not cool. Whether it's at all or whether they're just leading you in a direction that you specifically asked not to be led into, as was my case. But I've had a lot of good experiences, and there's a number of individuals that I've learned a lot from it to make it a little bit, I guess, more fun. Darren Brown is he does neurolinguistics programming and NLP, and he uses this with different methods of hypnosis, and he kind of does it in a fun way, but he also does it to like help people. But he had a few shows that were pretty interesting, and I got really into it. Oh, really? Suburban slang that hypnotizing students? Yeah, I always wanted to I want to get my degree so I can be certified licensed hypnotist. That's actually one of the few things that I've thought about over the years. If I'm gonna return to school, like what would I do? And like that would be it. That would be the thing I'd go back to school for. Be a psychologist, master of hypnosis. But maybe we'll get to that. Who knows what's next, right? Right now, anything goes. So it is a lot of fun though. It's I got a couple of fun books that, I mean, because it can be used for really beneficial things. Like a lot of it gets a bad rap because people go, oh, like you're using, people can use it to control you. And it's like, not really. um, you can, yeah. The entertainment aspects are fun, um, but there are good things that can be done with it as well. Um, I definitely used it to convince myself that an e-cig that had no battery charge was all I needed. I do it in different ways. I have different methods for self hypnosis. One of my best means of self hypnosis is actually listening to the same song on repeat hundreds of times. It sounds ridiculous and awful, but it happens often where I'll be listening to it and it'll just be hitting just right, and then I'll put it on repeat, and then like hours and hours later I'll have forgotten I did that. I actually did that today with Deadpan Darling. With so yeah. I was like really mistaken. That's the song it was. That it was mistaken. On repeat. Hours. But that whole time I was just so in a mode and I was accomplishing things. So I mean, whatever it takes, whatever works for you. Yeah, I was running up them plays for him. The sad thing is I was listening to the file before it was released, so like I already there's a bunch he didn't get paid for, but they'll be all right. It depends on it. Sometimes it's that I've got a couple though that aren't released that I listen to a lot, and like so much. And sometimes I pretend I'm probably the only one that has them, even though that's probably not true. But like, oh, you probably says that to everybody. But I have like a whole playlist of songs that I will listen to on repeat. That will do that for me, where I'll get like in a trance, and then I'm able to. I get so much stuff done. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But yeah, I think we're currently. There's like way more people in here. It doesn't show me sometimes. There's certain artists I can't really go too crazy with right now. If there's anybody in the chat that wants any cards pulled, I'll hang out for a little bit longer and do a couple more, but yeah, otherwise I'm just blabbing. Yeah, I had to take a bunch of people out of my playlist though. Lurkers. All the lurkers! It always confuses me because it'll be like, you have 3 viewers, and then I'll look and there's way more names in here, and I'm like, really? All those people in here? Why doesn't it show me? Please talk to me. I would love to read cards for you. or whatever. And feel free, if you're lurking and you happen to gain any insight from any of the things that I talked about tonight, or if you do after I close the stream and you listen to it from the beginning, it was a really good reading, I think. There is a link to various donations, or I appreciate subscriptions as well. Share my channel. Invite anyone who might be interested in. I stream about 3 times a week, and I'm trying to do it more, but right now it's 3 times a week. And I try to bring like relevant day-to-day good advice to the Twitch streamers. And there's not that many channels that read tarot yet. I was shocked at that, so I'm very excited to be among a few that seem to do this, and some really talented people, some gifted people, I should say. I don't know if you would call that a talent. I guess you could call it a talent, reading cards, because you're reading energy and reading people. So sometimes it's just the articulation. It's like, how are you saying it? Are they getting it right? And I have a tendency I will explain. I swear so much. I will explain stuff in multiple ways if I have to. I don't feel like it's quite getting across, then I'm going to push for it. Make sure you get it. Like, you get it, right? You get it. You get it. Get in the flow. It's not just do the thing, Erica. It's do your things and not obsessing about the outcomes. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Talents, gifts, vision, sometimes curse. No, it's not a curse. I'm just kidding. I don't ever think of it as a curse. It does suck sometimes to know things that are bad, but it also sometimes helps to know when things are bad, because then you are prepared for them and you can ease the situation in some way sometimes. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I thought that too. What was interesting is, because it's a cold reading type of thing, a lot of readers aren't as comfortable with that. I only do it with certain decks. That's where I have my limits is, I don't have that level of read with all of my decks that quickly. So some decks, like the Bowie deck, the Starman deck, I do those readings before I start the stream, and I write all my notes on a bunch of cards, like everything I feel as I read through the card. And then I do the reading. But I don't do that for the quick reads because I feel like it overpowers me, and I'm trying to be quick. I'm trying to like articulate some stuff well and clearly, and sometimes there's so much going on in that other deck. I just like this deck, and I like my Oracle decks. I got out my Ritual deck for the full moon and did a reading for myself. I did good stuff. I did a good ritual. It was way more intense than some of them have been. Hello, folks hanging out. If you would like to hear about anything at all, if you would like to hear from my cards about anything at all, just give me just go ahead and give me a holla. My question things work, I think. The stream Q&A works. There should be. I thought there was a thing under here too where like, I'll have to figure out another way. I know there's another ask thing. I tried to set up 2 of them. Live requests, that's what it is. I think that's on the screen itself. One of the little buttons that shows up on the side. But yeah, we'll see if there's anybody that's not shy. Maybe they already heard everything they needed to hear tonight. Who knows? That was a pretty long one. I've taken more steps into condensing my personas as well, because I've decided I don't want to have personas anymore. So I've started cross posting more than I've done in the past. Just because I feel like, just because you like to see me naked doesn't mean you don't like to hear me talk. So whatever. I don't think there's it is what it is. It's condensing the social media, really, is what it is. It's getting on less sites. At one point I was working on some stuff, and I was trying to like determine the best nice. It was so like, I forgot what I was just saying. Every time I stop to read something, I gotta like go back to my brain. Anyway, it's been a night. So I have. Oh yeah. The social. At one point, I was trying to accomplish. So I was trying to figure out the best social media sites for various things, and in order to like really see how they work, you sometimes gotta sign up and use them. And you do that for a while, and then it gets very exhausting, and you have to determine like which ones are useful versus which ones are not. And there's been a number of them that I've removed myself from, and then I have some that I'm now a little bit more active on, trying to be more active on. I was gonna try to do more TikTok. I think what I'm gonna do on TikTok is gonna be more like really short reads, like super short. And I have been trying to figure out how to do this. I have trouble keeping it in short words, so I'm working on that. But I do have a TikTok, and I'm gonna try to use that a little bit, and then get people to come to my Twitch. We'll see, right? Guinea pigs, yeah, it is. It is. It always surprises me how quickly 2 hours goes, though, because it's almost been 2 hours already, and I'm just like, for real? For real, though? But is there anybody in here, by the way, who would like a few cards drawn? You just have to let me know that that's what you would like. And I will gladly, you don't have to tell me anything about the situation. I'm a cold reader. That's just what I'm good at. I'm good at cold reading. I'm good at reading over the internet. I think I actually do better than when people are in person, because when they're in person, I can feel their energy, and I can feel what they want me to say, and I can feel what they want me to talk about. And sometimes that's not what the cards are trying to tell them. The cards are trying to get them to pay attention to something else. And then, or I'll be talking and they'll like interrupt me. And as you can see, I struggle with my flow. And if I think about one thing, I'm like gone. So I'll like mess up my train of thought when I'm trying to do my tarot reading. So I kind of like a little bit of separation from the person, because it allows me to really like elaborate and feel what I'm feeling from the cards. And they have to just sit there and listen for a minute. And then ask your questions. And then we come back and we chat about it. And that's when we usually figure out like, oh man, when you said this, or oh, when you said this, or whatever. It just seems like that has been the best way that I've ever found for doing readings. I'm more elaborate, more in tune, and I've only had one customer not vibe with the idea. They didn't give it a chance. And I always do. I always tell people, you never have to pay me if you don't feel I connected or I gave you anything worthwhile. You don't have to pay me, period. That's just how it is. But to to offer it to them and as free, and then have them say no is like, oh, okay, never mind then. They're like, I'm just gonna go with somebody else. Feel free. I think they were just mad that I didn't want to meet with them, but it's in the middle of a pandemic, and no, I'm not gonna go sit at, a park and try to read tarot for you. Like, no. Um, so I started doing this because of the pandemic. Well, I started doing it before because of the remote, the need to be expanding my clients. So I started doing remote readings, and then when the pandemic happened, it just so happened that that worked brilliantly, and I already had that in place. So started using it, and then now with the Twitch channel, it feels a little bit more accessible to people. I think people that wouldn't ordinarily stop and hit me up and say, I'll take a reading, please give me a reading, I need a reading, or just want to listen to advice, or just listen, even if it's somebody else's advice. um, I listen to self-help channels that aren't about me. I do all the time. Sometimes that's where I get the good ideas. I mean, that's, you gotta learn from somewhere. Like, there's information everywhere, and so some people might choose to listen to something like this and find some, yeah, yeah, no, yeah. I've only had one person that didn't like the remote idea. They wanted their tarot reader, but I think their only experience was with like the fortune teller experience, whereas I'm like, I don't consider myself like the very, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what words to use. I'm very more like a, yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people are weirded out by it because they think that I'm just like, I must be just making it up or something. Actually, my the guy that I was talking about earlier, sister, um, they had a tragedy in their family, and I offered to do Reiki for her, and I knew her in person already. So like for me, if I've already had, um, you know, plenty of contact with her in person, so for me, concentrating on her was piece of cake, no problem. So I did a Reiki session for her, and I contacted her, a distance Reiki session, and left her an audio, like kind of breaking down some of the impressions that I got during the Reiki. Um, and then I did a few cards for her and read those as well. And it was just really, really fucking detailed, profound um, reading that I think most people, if they had given it a chance, would have found some benefit in it. Like, it, and not to be egotistical at all, but like, there had been something in there. It made a lot of sense to me, and everybody listened to it afterwards, because I was so confused as to why she was so angry. She was extremely angry with me that I sent her this audio. She refused to listen to it. She didn't want to even listen to it. Um, she said I must be a fraud that I could even consider doing that. I'm like, I'm not here to convince you. But if you listen to it, you might think otherwise. That she just didn't want to. Yeah, distance Reiki. When I was trained to do Reiki, I learned how to do the distance Reiki as well, because that to me felt like a more accessible way for more people to have access to it that wouldn't ordinarily do that. Yeah, it was funny because I she didn't even push play on it. Like, she's like, wait, you did this Reiki and I'm not even there, and I was like, well, yeah, it's energy healing. What do I need to be there for? like, like, we're talking about energy healing here. There's that would be kind of silly because they're like, well, it's touch healing, and I'm like, no, it's energy healing. The energy is coming through my skin. I don't need to touch you in order for it to happen, because we have a chakra, uh, the root one, that happens to be in the general region of people's genitals, and you don't touch them there when you're doing Reiki in person either. You hover over it. It's the energy healing. And so I will argue this. Yeah, they're like, well, it's touch healing, and I'm like, no, it's not. I very rarely touch people when I do Reiki, even in person. Yeah, I very rarely touch people when I'm doing it in person. There's some, if I know the people and I feel like it will be beneficial, um, usually the only time I'll do it is the crown and the third eye, and sometimes I'll do like their heart, um, solar plexus maybe. You know, I might I might put hands on like their feet or something like that when I'm pulling energy, but like most of the time I'm not physically touching people. So it always seems weird. I had somebody like on Instagram go off on me. They were just like, "Yeah, distance Reiki's such a fraud," and I'm like, "I'm not doing anything different than what you are." Like, what are you saying? He was so mad about it. He's like, "It's touch healing." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's energy healing. It's all energy healing." Actually, my Reiki master teacher, because I'm a Reiki master now, also master teacher, was amazed at how natural I took to it. And I said, well, I mean, I've been doing this since I was a little kid. We just called it something else. I wasn't attuned to Reiki, but I was doing energy healing in other forms. So, um, yeah, yeah, but yeah, I get sassy. I get sassy. So many things. Well, I am gonna do one last call. If there's anyone in here that wants me to pull any cards, give it a few minutes. If not, then I'm gonna sign off by in the next 10 minutes or so here so I can get some sleep. Yeah. It's really there's a lot of good teachers out there. Once you do the attunements, if you've already done energy healing, just go and get your attunements. I can even do the attunements online. I prefer to do the master teacher one in person, but I think it can all be done. But the attunements is just get you in touch with your Reiki guide. Um, and the Reiki guide is really the only difference that I noticed, that when I'm doing Reiki specifically, there is a presence of an individual who guides me in what I need to know and see. And it's almost like having a teacher there with me all the time. And it's really weird because when I do other energy healing, I don't have that person there, that entity there, I should say. They're not like standing there in physical form, they're in my mind. But I can see them and they have a personality and I know what they look like. And um, they interact with me in a specific kind of way. Um, but yeah, the process of the attunement for the Reiki is where that came out, and I was able to identify with that, and then from there, it really clicked. It was just like I already knew the concentration, and I knew how to focus my energy. All that stuff was a piece of cake. That was, and then like learning the symbols and stuff was like, oh, okay, that's what those are called. I've seen them already. Oh, okay, yeah, I already know what all the chakras are for. I already knew all that stuff. So it was just adding to stuff I already knew. But having that certificate is nice. Like Reiki Master certificate. It's always a good way to offer help to people. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I would probably, yeah, yeah. At some point, perhaps I can send you along some good books that I think would be really helpful in honing your skills, and then from there it would just be the attunements. And the first two attunements I can do online. The third one, like I said, the third one I would prefer to do in person, but only because it's more of a ritual than the first two are. um, but yeah, the certifications make the difference. And because people already don't think that Reiki is that serious, and then you tell them that you have a certificate, and they're just like, oh, so you like took classes for that? Like, yeah. Like, I did, actually. They were very long classes because I had to drive out of town, but yeah, it was a lot of fun anyway. I enjoyed it. And I think I'm gonna go. There's a couple other types of Reiki. I think I'm gonna try those out and see if I can get certifications in the different types of it, because they're a little bit more intense. But I said I use all kinds of modalities of energy healing, whatever I feel like. I'm a chaos witch, so I do what I want when I want. That's how I do it. It's always how I've always done it. Because I don't think that any one method or technique is better than another, and sometimes you can employ multiple ones and have the best success. So why limit yourself? Why limit yourself? So that said, nobody else wants to talk about any readings, but that's all good. Yes. Yeah, I noticed I originally embarked on my journey and went right into like Wicca like most people do, and realized that I was a little bit more pagan than Wicca. Just didn't quite suit me. Not long after though, I came across some more reading and um, realized that ultimately I just wasn't satisfied with that any more than I was with like organized religion, and it just felt very one-sided. And yeah, it just felt very one-sided in that aspect as well. So it's like, okay, well, organized religion feels like I'm missing so much, and then I go over to like something like Wicca or Druid, and you know, they're only focused on one aspect as well. And so for me, I just did not feel like I was getting a complete education in these subject matters until I looked on the other side of things as well. Um, and with the study of that, most of the time you determine that it's not necessarily for you, but you understand it, and therefore you have a better understanding of all of it because you understand both sides. So for me, chaos magic has always been what made the most sense, because I felt like I needed to know the push and the pull and the ebb and the flow of what I was doing, because that's how it works. If you only understand the light side of magic, then you don't understand what's happening over here, and there's a push and a pull. It's always going to be equal and opposite. So that's what I think a lot of people miss when they're messing with this stuff, is you have to study the other side. You have to study both paths and understand the consequences of what you're doing and understand what that means. Um, you know, but anyway, I digress. Apparently, I don't even need a subject. I'll just come on here and talk for 2 hours for whatever. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. Yeah, again, I appreciate you greatly. I will be back Saturday, most likely. Um, Saturday will be normal, but Sunday I will not be here because I'm doing that all day stream and it's going to be long and difficult. So I will not be here Sunday night, but I'll try to make up a stream for it at some point. Come up with some kind of topic. There's a few other meditations I wanted to put together. I might just upload them though. I'll just record them and upload them, rather than me like sitting here and doing them. For sure, for sure. So much love to everyone. To Benna and Suburban Slang, who I think is still in here and possibly zoned out, and anyone else who might happen to be in here that hasn't been speaking. Got a few quiet lurkers, but I'm gonna hop off for this managing the unmanageable. Exactly. I'm gonna stop obsessing over what I want, and I'm going to instead do what I need to do. So, much love to you, to everyone involved and around. I hope you get some rest, and I will catch you next time.